On this episode, we're going to be addressing skittish dogs, anxious dogs that whine in the crate, introducing two dogs together for the first time in a way that will avoid conflict. A little bit more, we also have Nayeli here from Mexico checking us out for the day, and that's what we're going to get into. We got these guys too. What's up, guys? Blake Rodriguez, Dream Come True Canine, and this is episode 4 of Dog Behavior Question Tuesday. Pretty good episode. We're getting into the groove of things. This is getting really nice. I also have a nice little group with me. We got Andrew, one of our trainers and cameraman. We got Nayeli, who's here visiting us from Mexico. We have Soko, my main man Maxwell. You guys love Maxwell. You know Maxwell. If you follow us on Instagram, you know him and Will Space and all the cameos that he's making over there. Those guys are doing fantastic things. And then we also got Samson over here, right? So we're gonna jump right into the questions. Episode 4, got a lot of good questions. The first question here is actually one that I somehow skipped from last week, and it's from Ozzy.
When bringing in another dog into the house, what is the best way to introduce the two dogs and not have the first dog snap at the new dog or have any conflicts between them?
This is actually a great question, and a question that a lot of people struggle with when they have a dog who has been living in the house for a while, and then they get that second dog and they want it to go smooth, but that first dog that was never a problem might be giving you kind of issues. So how to introduce, or what the best way is to introduce two dogs and not have the first dog snap at the new dog for any conflicts or anything like that. So the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and say is, if that first dog that was not a problem dog is kind of what you're more concerned with, start to become more relevant with that dog. You have to start getting that dog in an area where they're comfortable in your house, not because they're doing their own thing, but they're comfortable where you're telling them to be comfortable, right? Giving your dog more rules, giving your dog more structure, getting your dog to sharpen them up, shape them up on the leash. A lot of times when we have a dog that's kind of fell into a nice groove, we tend to get lenient, right? When you finally do get that second dog, getting a little bit relevant, even if it's the first day with leash pressure, doing some things where that dog understands you. Me personally, it's all about the walk. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take a dog, I'm gonna take that second dog, and if I have a solid relationship with both of them, doesn't have to be perfect, we're walking, and it's not about them meeting and seeing what they think about each other. It's, you guys are gonna be working together, living together. You guys are gonna be coexisting. This is what we're doing right now. Stop spending time focusing on what you think about the other dog, and let's walk as a unit, as a pack, as a team together. Now, if you don't have an out of control dog, or let's say you do have an out of control dog that might be walking in like a harness or something, that's gonna make it a little bit difficult. So you want a dog that responds to your leash pressure appropriately and isn't disrespectful and goes against it. A lot of us will say we have a dog that works perfectly on the walk, or walks perfectly and isn't so bad, but then we don't realize that the dog is pulling us here. The dog smells something, they pull us there. We walk with them over there. We're walking, the dog stops, we stop with them, all that stuff. In my opinion, that's not a dog that's walking with you nicely. So we want to get that dog to make sure that they respect and walk with us so the walk's enjoyable. That way, when there's concern, I say, hey, that's not what we're doing right now. We're actually doing this. The dog's like, oh, cool. Okay, cool, we're walking, right? What's really important is, like, if you put it into a real world scenario, a real world situation, a coworker, for example. There are a lot of coworkers when I had 9-to-5 jobs or whatever job that I had, a lot of coworkers that I probably would not hang out with after work was over, but I'm also not getting into fights with them or letting them get in the way of getting my job done or doing my work while we're at work. So coexistence is first. I need them to coexist. I need them to know that focusing on me and what we're doing is priority over what is this dog about? Do I like this dog? Do I not like this dog, right? And believe it or not, those coworkers that I wouldn't hang out with after work hours ended up growing on me. Yeah, you're not so bad. So if it's a work event outside, I might hang out with you. You know what I mean? So that tends to happen with the dog, so that they start to live a life together, kind of in unison, coexisting, and everything's fine, where they're not concerned about one another. It's just like, oh, I live with this guy. Oh, I work with this guy. Not a big deal. Through that, friendship will develop. The type of friendship that develops, it might be play. It might be dogs that just hang out and don't care about one another. These dogs, can you show this for a second? These dogs play all the time. Right now, they're just chilling out. And the reason they're chilling out is because right now it's not playtime. So because they can coexist, they can actually be together because it's about walking and what we're doing rather than whether they like each other or not, right? So this to answer your question, get that walk solid individually and then get them to walk with you, where even when the three of you are together, or if you have a friend, the four of you are together that's walking one dog, you're walking the other, those dogs are more mindful and concerned with what you guys are doing and what we're doing as a pack, as a unit, rather than each other, all right? I'm just gonna switch through to our next Instagram questions. Another thing I wanna kind of point out, for those of you that have asked questions through Facebook, through YouTube, or through other posts, make sure that it's through the post that actually says ask your questions here for next episode. That way we can get them answered and we don't we don't miss anything. I wanna answer as many questions as I can for you guys. Let's get right into this next question here.
Is it possible to ever get a dog to stop marking in the home? There is a dog that is not adoptable because of this. All medical has been checked out. Neutered, 2 years old, rescued from kill shelter at about 1. All methods of housebreaking used. Nothing helps. Is there any hope?
Okay, this is a great question. So is it possible to ever get a dog to stop marking in the home? So marking, peeing in the house, marking this, doing that, peeing on the rug, peeing on the bed, doing all those sorts of things. There's a couple things we look for. Medical is checked out. There's no bladder issues, right? The dog is neutered, right? The dog's 2 years old, rescued from a kill shelter. It's just a housebreaking issue. Nothing helps. First thing that I already know, this is a dog that's probably not crated, right? This is a dog that has freedom to do what it wants and is more than likely, or maybe it got bad and it's marking right in front of you, but more than likely a dog that you tried to maybe wee-wee pad first and gave permission to pee inside the house. Now you're trying to take that away and it's a little bit tough and the dog goes outside sometimes, but the dog still goes on the wee-wee pad and that's where your struggle is. That's one possibility, and I'm totally guessing, I could be off, but at some point the dog got permission. Another thing is maybe your dog is only doing it when you're not home. And then you hear what's common is, well, the dog knows because when I come home, I see the dog doing this. The dog doesn't know or feel sad. You come in and you see what's going on, and now you have a dog that goes, oh, I see the energy, they're upset, and that's all they notice. So if your dog is peeing or marking or doing these things when you're not around, your dog is not responsible enough to be unsupervised just yet. So what we need to do is we need to take options A through Z. There's a lot of options, right? You're telling your dog it's okay to go outside. You're telling your dog it's okay to go on the wee-wee pad. We're telling your dog that you can go over there on that sofa, under that table, over here, over there, over here, all in the apartment or in the house. You could live in a $1 million mansion, or you can live in a studio apartment. There's still way too many options. So if you're trying to get your dog to be successful and nail it on the right question, stop giving your dogs multiple choice potential answers A through Z and make it very simple, A and B. Crate is where you sleep. Crate is where you drink your water. Crate is where you rest and you hang out. Outside is where we walk. Outside is where you pee. And if the dog goes outside, you give them freedom of the rest of the place inside your apartment or inside your house. So now you have a dog that realizes and starts understanding pattern of, oh, when I go outside, I start getting more liberties, right? So if you have a dog, this is 2 years old, your dog has the muscle bladder, the strength in the muscles to actually hold it. Your dog just doesn't know how. Another thing is if you have a daycare dog, majority of daycares here in the New York City area let their dogs just pee inside. I personally think that's gross. But when you have dogs that don't have to practice holding it, what you end up seeing are dogs that when they have to go, they just go, right? I have to kind of pee right now, but I know how to answer all these questions. I'm not just gonna start going because I know that I have bladder control. So we have to help the dogs out, right? And I really do sort of have to pee right now. So what you need to look at is now think of it this way, and I know people say, well, I've tried everything. I've tried housebreaking my dog by crating a dog. The dog's still peeing in the crate. One, are you giving your dog the entire kitchen and setting up a pen? Because now your dog can still go at that area of the kitchen and sleep here. Are you giving your dog a crate where they can pee over there and then chill out here? Is your dog spending enough time in the crate where they understand that they actually do sleep here and spend time, right? This is what we're looking at. If I'm a car thief, I'm not gonna do dirt or I'm not gonna steal cars in my neighborhood. I'm gonna go to Jersey to steal cars, right? If the dog knows that they spend time in that crate, they're not gonna wanna do business in that crate, right? They're gonna say, man, they might make a mistake once or twice, but if you're on top of it, your time management skills are good, they're gonna realize you have to be consistent. You get them outside and you overcompensate. You get them outside a lot. What happens is when you walk, and the walk isn't about hurry up and just go and do your thing, you walk with purpose and you walk with intention, then you give your dog the okay, eventually they start taking advantage of that. So our walks, what we do is in an hour walk, this is New York City for you, right? This is like real deal. I'm gonna pause just in case you can't hear me. I don't know if it's good. In New York City, if I'm walking my dogs for an hour, regardless of whether I'm on grass or I'm in the streets in the concrete jungle, they're getting maybe max 3 opportunities to go to the bathroom. When we walk with purpose, right? And then when I give them the best shot, when I give them an opportunity to relieve themselves, their nose go to that area, they take advantage because they don't get an entire walk of smelling and saying, oh, I gotta go, but that's not good, this is not good, this is not good. I wanna find the perfect spot. Then you have a dog that you just wanted to go out for a 5-minute potty walk just to pee and get upstairs so you can go to sleep, or pee and get upstairs just so you can go out to hang out with your friends. It ends up being a 40-minute walk because your dog doesn't know how to go. I see this all the time with people, right? If you walk with purpose and you give your dog limited opportunities, what happens is they make the best of those opportunities. And then you create a habit that when you say, okay, go, your dog goes on the spot on command, right? So that's one thing we have to look at. Another thing is if you have a dog that is holding it and being a good boy outside on the walk and then coming inside, and then when they come inside, we kind of, oh, well, you didn't pee, here you go, and then they're peeing the moment they get inside or they're marking, that's where we're running into some issues, right? Now let's also assume, I'm trying to cover every angle here, we have a dog that does pee outside because he's a marker, so he's probably marking on everything. I'm gonna tell you, stop giving your dog 39,000 opportunities to pee on every single thing. The dog that pees here, that pees here, that pees there, he's just like Donald Trump. This is mine, this is mine. Ooh, I like this too, I like this too. That's not a dog that's peeing. A dog that's peeing is relieving themselves. If I pee right now, I'm not gonna have to pee in 2 seconds when I see the next bathroom, right? So get your dog, this is what you gotta do. And it might require you to take your dog out more often to a couple things. When you walk, don't go straight to the first tree. Past the first tree, maybe past the second tree, walk. Then give your dog the okay on the next one. Your dog might be in the habit of just squirting. Then you walk for a little bit, right? Walk for 15 minutes, don't give your dog anything, right? Then give your dog another shot, then you go upstairs, right? If your dog is just squirting, crate your dog, because you know your dog didn't fully relieve itself. Take your dog out, get in the habit of like when your dog goes outside, your dog is actually peeing outside. We're talking like, if I'm peeing 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, like 4 seconds, that's a dog that's peeing and not marking. If your dog is squirt, 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 your dog is just holding it. So by you giving them more opportunities, they're having a reason to actually hold it in because they know, oh, I'm gonna wanna mark there, mark there, and mark there. So we wanna limit that, right? Another thing is once that's getting solid, you gotta start catching your dog in the act, right? If you're in the house and you're starting to get them into a point where they're peeing outside but they still wanna kind of mark, now you have a bad habit. So what are the tools that you're using? Are you relevant where the way you walk outside, where you use a leash, a dog responds to you automatically? Your dog has solid communication with you where you actually give a correction, the dog knows how to respond to a correction. You can interrupt where you actually interrupt and the dog goes, oh, you don't want me to do that? If you don't have that foundation, we gotta go back to foundation and we gotta address all that stuff, right? So that is very, very important. We wanna make sure all that stuff is good. Let's see what else we got going on. So that covers, who does that cover? That covers Brandy. Hopefully that helps, all right? Okay. We're gonna go to K-Ken here. Your beagle's afraid of cars and is skittish on walks. So I'm gonna go ahead, okay, assume car is passing and slowing down. I'm not sure where you live, but if you have, if you live in an area that's more suburban, you're getting cars every now and then, and you're not getting, you see that bag? Is that ugly bag in the way? Get it out of here. She wants it. She wants the bag. No. Is that your bag? No. Oh. Let me see what I was saying. So, hey, come here, down. So Nayeli just popped over, and the other dog, Samson, just got up to go smell. All I did was say, hey, not now, right now is what I want you doing, right? So he's chilling out again. But what would be ideal here, this is a situation where I say flooding is kind of probably more appropriate to help your dog to get over it. The same way that consistency with thunder or consistency with fireworks, like a soundtrack, and getting your dogs to either hold a position if they want to take flight, or stay in movement if it's a dog that shuts down. You want to flood them with the sound on lower levels. So I guess in this case, at a greater proximity away from the cars, like a highway would kind of help away from a highway, because you want them to get over the sound. The sound that's inconsistent is the sound that's tough. Thunder is difficult for people to get over, or for dogs to get over, because thunder only comes every now and then. You also have the pressure, but that's a different issue. Fireworks, you only hear fireworks around the 4th of July, right? And people aren't practicing these things. So you want to go to an area where there is high volume, and you also, again, goes back to being relevant on the leash. Get your dog to respond appropriately to leash pressure. All of these things are important so that you can be in a position or a situation to actually guide your dog rather than trying to jump into a problem when your dog didn't even listen to you on the leash before the problem, right? So these are the things that we look for. If your dog is all over the place, a harness or like certain other tools are going to be tough where you can't control nose, eyes, and ears, right? So we want to help by being relevant in a way where we can guide the dog and show them what the choice they should be making so that they can do it. But if we're working with tools that make it difficult, that you're going to run into these issues, right? So let me make sure I'm kind of covering all of this stuff here. More secure and calm while walking. We want to make sure that walk is calm prior. And then you want to start doing proximity work for sure, like away, and then slowly kind of build to that. Your timing also has to be really on point. When is it that you're trying to help them? Are you picking them up? Are you saying it's okay? And like, hey, is the dog, when you apply pressure, giving the butt to your pressure to focus more on the walk, or I'm sorry, more on the car? If all of these things are happening, those are the little signs that you want to kind of address. Is that happening prior to the cars? Master that there first, right? Then what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a situation where I'm the dog, right? This is the owner. I'm over here, I'm walking, I'm fine. Now there's a car coming, I want to do this. Right there, interrupt on a very low level, not holding and staying here, but break that thought bubble, that thought process of, oh, there's a car. Nope, you can worry about this. The second I get this, pressure's gonna come off. Good job, there you go, we're staying over here. Yeah, but there's a car. Nope, over here. So you keep interrupting to the point. Now, if you keep interrupting and your dog knows this stuff prior, it's very easy. If you're trying to interrupt and your dog is just a savage beast on the leash outside of that, we gotta go back to basics, right? So that's what I mean. That's why this leash pressure stuff is so important. But if you're able to do that, now you're interrupting. Now the car is passing by this way and your dog is gonna freak. You wanna just be able to guide your dog and steer your dog. So more of a walk where a dog is following you, guiding you, doing those things, that's what's gonna set you up for success, right? So master the walk in general, the tools that you're using. You want to establish sensitivity with your dog, right? Before you kind of go into these things. That's very important. That's Ken. Now we have Josh here.
How do I get my 5-month-old female Dogo Argentino to stop whining in her crate? She is great around the house, super calm, is picking up on place command pretty good, can go over an hour with only the occasional verbal correction to keep the position. But every morning, as soon as the sun is up, even with her crate covered, she begins to whine. My cane Corso will chill until I get him up.
You have a 5-month-old Dogo Argentino who's whining in the crate. First off, 5 months, around the time that you want to start treating them like an adult dog, even though they're still obviously a puppy. She's great. So there's a couple things that we got to look at. How much time is she spending in the crate? Is she only going in the crate when it's time to call it a night? if you're getting into play stuff, which it seems like, let me double check. I think that you said, okay, yeah, place command is starting to get good. The crate is no different than a place command, it just has some barriers. So you can start doing like crate stuff where the dog downs, chills out in there, learns how to relax with the gate open, closes for a little bit, get that dog settled, make it a habit. So that the only time that the dog is crating isn't when it's time to put you away and the dog's like, huh, huh. Another thing that you want to start doing is if you're setting your dog up where the dog is doing more play stuff away from you and learning how to relax after a nice walk, after exercise, you're setting your dog up to know that it's okay to be away from you so they're not stressed. If anytime the dog is on place, they're right next to us. Anytime the dog is doing this, they're always around us. When the dog is not on place, they're on top of us. You're not setting your dog up for success to understand that it's okay to be away from you. Then when you put them in a crate and you leave, it's, oh, where are you leaving me? And you start to get that panic. You start to get all of those things. So assuming that you're doing those things, then you could go into using like bark collars. Then you could go into using appropriate bark collars that are going to help monitor things, that are going to catch it. If it's like low whining, you want to be able to interrupt. So if like whining is happening on a placemat and you're really good with your leash pressure, you can start to use that as a correction to interrupt. You can also start to interrupt with remote collar. Now, the one thing I am going to say is if you're going to do any type of remote collar corrections, you want to make sure that before you use the remote collar as any type of I guess you would qualify this as like positive punishment, which is a correction. I'm adding a leash to stop that behavior. If you're going to use it for that, you want to make sure that the remote collar has some sort of understanding where you've taught that sensation in a way where the dog knows what to do when they feel it before you start teaching them what not to do. That's very important, and that's something that is going to put you in a position where the remote collar is going to help you to relieve stress rather than make the dog more stressful, right? So I see a lot of people that go, man, nothing else is working. We got to use this remote collar, and it actually makes matters worse, right? So, just chilling out over there, right? So in those situations, you want to make sure that all that stuff is known. Then, if you're using the remote collar with any type of correction, sometimes pairing it with a leash to show if I'm whining, interrupt, and settle, oh, you know what, this feels better. Interrupt, oh, you know what, this feels better. You're helping to cut through stress rather than, and then you're just hitting a remote and a dog is stressing more. Then you're hitting a dog and a more is stressing more. And you're doing all of this stuff. What ends up happening is you have a dog that you're showing, nope, do this instead. And they're like, but I want to stress. Oh, you know what, this feels a little bit better. So sometimes you're interrupting it before it even starts, and you're helping to actually minimize it and reduce that stress pretty significantly. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. This guy almost walked right in between us. So hopefully that answers your question, right? Little by little. You can ask additional questions if this sort of answers it and you want some more. Just hit us up the next time it's time to ask, and we're happy to help work you through this, all right, man? Let's see, what else?
Hi guys, love your Q&A. I would like to know your opinion on placement of prong collar and e-collar when the dog is wearing and working with both. Do you like to place the e-collar behind the ears and under that the prong, or the other way around? Thank you.
Okay, so this is an issue of placement on the collar. If you're using a prong collar and you're using a remote, what do you like, I guess, higher on the neck, right? Okay. So me personally, I kind of don't care where it is unless I'm going to be using, if I'm going to be walking, I want the prong collar up higher. Because the higher it is, the more sensitive the neck is. And I'm not trying to create pain. What it allows me to do is actually be softer. If it's more sensitive, I can actually be more sensitive. If we're in a library where you're more focused with me, I can talk to you like this. If the environment is all the way up here, then I have to match you when you're all the way up here if we're in a club, right? So that's what we don't want to do. So if the prong collar is relevant and we have that, I'm gonna help to influence the remote collar and teach that with the prong collar. Now, if I'm trying to make the remote collar more relevant in areas where I'm not going on the walk and I'm just teaching in a more of an open space, I'm gonna maybe put the prong collar or even a flat buckle collar or something that doesn't help me as much to keep it here. That way, the remote, I'm trying to get my dog off leash because I want a really solid off leash dog, I might have that higher so that it's not as much of an influence. So it really depends on what you're looking for, right? More often than not, when I'm doing remote collar stuff or I'm using it on a walk, I want that prong collar on first because that's more of what I'm using to guide, and that's actually what I teach before teaching remote collar stuff. My remote collar stuff is just proofing the behaviors that I get. So a lot of times you'll get like critics that'll be like, well, we can get the same behavior without a remote collar. And it's like, awesome, so can I. Actually, one of the things that we do is we teach all of our trainers, like our thing is if you can't get it done without a remote collar first, you probably shouldn't be using it with a remote collar. And that's for 99% of the cases that we're working with. All that the remote collar is proofing it so that we can get it solid when we get rid of the old school attachment of the leash. I want to have Bluetooth, I want to have Wi-Fi. Old school is, in order for this mic to work over there, I needed a wire to connect there. In order for my headset or my earbuds to work for this speaker, I need to hook it up to an auxiliary cord. Now we have new age technology where I have Bluetooth. I can play from my iPhone and it's going to play on that speaker over there. So that's all the remote collar is, and we're proofing it. So just like if I had the leash over there for when a dog wasn't 100%, when I get the dog to the point where they're off leash, all I'm doing is transferring remote collar pressure to the same thing they were doing on a leash, right? And now if I pair it right, you're not shocking the dog into compliance, you're just pressuring over there. Good job. Now I can communicate the same way I would communicate if I had a leash when they needed more information. So it becomes an information thing. So it really depends on where I am with the dog, but usually the prong collar will be on top, right? Let's see what else. I think we answered every single question. We do have one question that did not make the cut on here. That is from Miss Ari. Oh, what's up, Ari? I'm going to, Ariana we went to junior high together. We might have gone to high school too, I'm not sure. I'm gonna answer that question next week for sure, okay? We just didn't have Lindsay read that question. I'm gonna get that to you guys. This is episode 4, awesome episode. We're starting to get the ball rolling. We're gonna get more people involved. Andrew's gonna start getting more involved in the show. We're gonna have Lindsay, who just recently started reading the questions. I understand a lot of you guys were saying that you're listening to this stuff in your car on your way to work or on your way to clients and stuff like that. So reading the questions is helpful because you can't read it. You're not watching it necessarily on YouTube. So we started doing that. I want to get Lindsay more involved, show you more what we're doing, try to change the scene and keep it interesting for you guys. But for those of you that have been here from episode 1 to episode 4, we're keeping the ball rolling. Thank you so much. Spread the word. This is helping. This is being done to help you guys, but it's helping me just as much. I don't get paid for this. I do this stuff for free. A lot of times I'm actually paying the cameraman and Andrew and everybody else to help me with this. So this is literally really out of the bottom of my heart for the people that might not be able to afford services or might be far away and stuff. The very least that I could do is be here for you guys here and try to help you the best way that I can, so that you guys can have the relationship that we have with our dogs and understand the way that we're using the tools, right? And that's pretty much it, man. Awesome stuff. Thanks, man. We're good. I'll see you guys next week.